Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Rakakadash, double honor to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the brothers out there doing this work in sincerity and truth throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom. And I'm going to just jump right into this article real quick. It says, on this day, the night that stars fell, November 13th, 1833. And it says, imagine waking up one morning and going outside to get some fresh air or some exercise when all of a sudden you look and what is that? You are left speechless, perhaps frightened and amazed at nature's scene. You just can't believe your eyes. Stars are falling from the sky, and not just one at a time, but many at once, 60,000 stars per hour. You close your eyes and open them again, but no, this is not a dream, but a real phenomenon. And it says, being up this morning, I witnessed one of the most grand and alarming spectacles which ever been upon the eyes of man. He later wrote, the light in my room was so great that I could see the hour of the morning by my watch, which hung over my mantle. And supposing there was a fire near at hand, probably my own premises, I sprung to the window, and behold, the stars or some other bodies presenting a fiery appearance were descending in torrents as rapid and as numerous as I ever saw flakes of snow or drops of rain in the midst of a storm. And it says, the event left some people speechless and amazed and others frightened and full of questions, an amazing phenomenon of nature. Denison Olmsted, a mathematics professor at Yale College and a man who kickstarted the modern science of meteors, wrote, probably no celestial phenomenon has ever occurred in this country since its first settlement, which was viewed with so much admiration and delight by one class of spectators, or with so much astonishment and fear by another class. Those who were so fortunate as to witness the exhibition of shooting stars in the morning of November 13, 1833, probably saw the greatest display of celestial fireworks that has ever been seen since the creation of the world, or at least within annals covered by the pages of history. And it says, John in the biblical book of Revelation wrote that before the coming of the Lord, the stars of heaven fell to the earth as a fig tree drops its late figs when it is shaken by a mighty wind. And this is kind of what I wanted to talk about a little bit, because these were during the slavery times of the Negroes, that was brought here on slave ships during the transatlantic slave trade. But these Edomites, we know that the Bible isn't their book, so they can't interpret it the way that it's supposed to. But they thought that this was the return of who they call Jesus Christ, who we know to be as Yahweh Shah. They thought that this was the return of the Lord, because they seen this great meteor shower with all these stars falling at once, and they thought that this interpretation of the Bible of the stars falling from heaven was his return, when we know that that's talking about nuclear missiles, at the end of the Great Tribulation, when America, as well as other places, are set to be judged, but mostly America is going to get hit with these nuclear missiles. And that's what John was talking about when it talks about stars falling from heaven, And that's during that height of World War III is when the Lord is supposed to make his return. But, they were thinking that this was talking about this meteor shower that they was witnessing. So because they thought it was this meteor shower, they thought it was Judgment Day, and they thought that they were going to get judged for the ways that they were treating the slaves. Let me jump into some scriptures real quick to show that that's talking about nuclear bombs. And it says the return of the Son of Man. And that's what they thought that this meteor shower was was referring to when it says that the stars of heaven shall fall. They thought that the return of the Lord was going to happen immediately after those stars fell. But it says, this is Mark 13:24, and it says, but in those days after that tribulation, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars of heaven shall fall, and the powers that are in heaven shall be shaken. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory. And then shall he send his angels, and shall gather his elect from the four winds, from the uttermost parts of the earth to the uttermost parts of heaven. So this is what they thought that they were seeing. This is what they thought that they were witnessing. But how can that be talking about the stars falling from heaven if they haven't even went through a great tribulation? It hasn't even been a great tribulation yet, but they skipped all of that and thought that this was talking about the Lord returning. You know what I'm saying? But this scripture is talking about nuclear bombs falling, because after the tribulation, after it's just complete hell on earth, Great Babylon, which is America, is going to get wiped off the earth, man. So to speak. You know what I'm saying? The land itself is still going to be here, but everything that's in this land is just going to be turned to ashes, man, by these nuclear bombs that's going to get sent to this place, as a judgment from the Heavenly Father. You know what I'm saying? So it says, in those days after the tribulation, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars of heaven shall fall, and the powers that are in heaven shall be shaken. So what was being seen are nuclear bombs falling, nuclear missiles falling from heaven, and they describe them as stars because that's what they look like, just fireballs falling down, and hitting the earth and blowing shit up, you know what I'm saying? Catching things on fire, so that was the best way that they could describe it. But, this is talking about nuclear bombs, nuclear missiles, and this is 2nd Esdras 15 and 34, and it says, behold, clouds from the east and from the north unto the south, and they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm. And these are talking about, when it says clouds, these are talking about aerial vehicles, like you got helicopters, you got jets, and they all got missiles on them, you know what I'm saying? And this is talking about the Third World War, how all these armies are going to come together, for Armageddon down there in what these people call the Middle East, because that's where the war is going to take place. You know what I'm saying? But it says, behold, clouds, aerial vehicles from the east and from the north and unto the south, from all directions, because all these nations are going to meet there for a war. And it says, and they are very horrible to look upon, because, they got giant bullets, missiles, they're very loud, just ready for war. And it says full of wrath and storm. That wrath and that storm is talking about that armory that they got, that weaponry, And this is 35, and it says, they shall smite one upon another. They going to war. And it says, they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth. So these clouds, these aerial vehicles, they're going to smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth. So that's how these are talking about missiles. You know what I'm saying? This is talking about missiles during the Third World War. And it says, even their own star and blood shall be from the sword unto the belly. You see what I'm saying? So it says a great multitude of stars. They're going to send a great multitude of stars upon the earth. So they're going to be shooting missiles towards each other during this Third World War. You see what I'm saying? So these people think that that's talking about actual stars falling, when really it's talking about nuclear bombs and missiles flying. You know what I'm saying? It says the night the stars fell, and I guess this is a kind of what it looked like, what these people was witnessing that night. You got all the people looking up in amazement as all these stars fall, so they thought this must have been a real big thing, man. It must have been a very big thing for these people to think that the Lord was coming back, as a sign of his return. you know. But it says on any given clear night, you can see roughly 15,000 stars with the naked eye. On a cold November night in the year 1833, residents of the eastern United States began to believe that the sky was really falling. It was on that night, 179 years ago, when it seemed that at least 30,000 and as many as 200,000 stars were falling every hour. 200,000 stars every hour. That's a magnificent thing to witness. And it says, in the days leading up to November 13, 1833, the weather in Georgia had been somewhat mercurial. On a rather warm Saturday and part of Sunday, a steady rain fell. After a Monday morning fog evaporated, the skies cleared. As the sun began to set on Tuesday afternoon, temperatures began to plummet. Wednesday, like Tuesday, was a perfectly clear, crisp autumn day. As the sun set, a thin crescent moon hung low in the sky. Once the moon disappeared below the western horizon, the pitch black sky was speckled with its usual complement of stars and planets. All was normal, or so it seemed. And it says about 9 o'clock that evening and continued until the sun came up the next morning, thousands and thousands of stars came screaming out of the calm northeastern sky, appearing to emanate out of the constellation of Leo, the lion, traveling at an estimated 156,000 miles per hour. Those who believe in a higher being were sure that Judgment Day was at hand. Few, if any, people realized what was really happening. And it says the stars descended like snowfall to the earth. So that's a lot of stars, man, when you compare it to snowflakes falling. And it says, we were awakened by a neighbor who had been aroused in a similar manner by one who supposed the world was coming to an end. As the stars were falling, the whole heavens were lighted by falling meteors, as thick and constant as flakes which usher in a snowstorm. Stars fell like snowflakes, and fireballs darted back and forth in the heavens, like children at play, making a grand and awe-inspiring display. Settlers came from as far as 15 miles away to visit Reverend Pate's home. They stayed up all night singing hymns and praying as Reverend Pate read the scriptures. Many confessed their most secret sins that remarkable night, truly fearing that the world was coming to an end. So these Edomites, they were scared, man. You know, they traveled 15 miles to go to some reverend, you know, that they had back then to read the scriptures, which, you know, he wasn't even reading the scriptures right, I'm sure, you know, because it's not for these Edomites to break down the scriptures, you know. But these Edomites were scared, man, and they started confessing their most secret sins, you know, during an event that was happening, because they were scared that the world was coming to an end and that the Lord was going to return. And it says, in an Alabama Heritage Magazine article in 2000, it was written that in a town in Georgia, many profane people were frightened to their knees. And I find it funny they use profane because the scriptures call Esau a very profane person. You know, and these were all Edomites that we're talking about. So, you know, they're very profane people, which the word profane goes into ungodly. So it says many profane people were frightened to their knees. Dust-covered Bibles were open, and dice and cards were thrown into the flames. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, people stopped gambling. People stopped drinking. You know, they fell to their knees, scared, praying. You know, and these were people that were ungodly. These, you know what I'm saying? You got people that don't believe in God, you know, today. You got people that don't believe in God today, you know, so they call themselves atheists. But when all these things, when all these events and these plagues start happening, these people are going to start to try to turn themselves over to God, you know, so-called turn themselves over to God and start to be spiritual again, you know. But these are the same people that say they don't believe in the Bible, they don't believe in God. When these things start affecting them, they're going to start trying to call on a higher entity, you know? You know, but that's it on that. I'm going to go into one last article, and then I'm going to bring a scripture out. And it says, they thought it was Judgment Day, the night the stars fell on the U.S. South, as thousands of meteors fell one 1833 year night. Slavers told slaves where their families have been sold. So these Edomites were scared. They was trying to confess all of the sins that they were doing because they thought it was Judgment Day, you know? And it says November 1833, as the night skies exploded and the stars fell on America's deep south, the slavers on one plantation in Tennessee, terrified of the end of the world, attempted to make restitution to those they had enslaved. And it says the sky was scored in every direction with shining tracks and illuminated with majestic fireballs. At Boston, the frequency of meteors was established to be about half that of flakes of a snow in an average snowstorm. So they still comparing the falling of these meteors to the flakes that fall in a snowstorm, man. That's a lot of flakes, you know, so that's a lot of meteors, man. So this was a very, very amazing thing to witness, you know, very grand thing to witness. And it says their numbers were quite beyond counting, but as it waned, a reckoning was attempted from which it was computed on the basis of that much diminished rate that 240,000 must have been visible during the 9 hours they continued to fall. You know, so they got different interpretations of how many stars was falling, because the last article said it was about 200,000 that was falling every hour, you know what I'm saying? And this says 240,000 were falling during a 9-hour span. So it ain't no telling, man, but you know, for it to be something that grand, I think it'll be more around 200,000 that was falling every hour, you know, for the people to think it was the end of the world. And it says in Alabama, the Florence Gazette reported that there were thousands of luminous bodies shooting across the firmament in every direction. And it says there was little wind and not a trace of clouds, and the meteors succeeded each other in quick succession. You know, and this, you know, this is another little art interpretation of what the stars was looking like when it was falling, you know. And this next little passage I'm gonna read is from a slave's perspective of what happened. And it says they thought it was Judgment Day. And it says, in Murray County, Tennessee, a small girl born into slavery was awoken in her cot by the sound of screaming. And it says the story of Amanda Young, who died in 1920, was recounted in 2010 by her great-great-granddaughter, Angela Walton Raja, as part of a family oral history. Walton had traveled to Chicago to meet her own elderly cousin, Frances Swader, and to hear from her Young's story. Walton reported Young's words thus: somebody in the quarters started yelling in the middle of the night to come out and look up at the sky. We went outside and there they was a-falling everywhere. Big stars coming down real close to the ground, and just before they hit the ground they would burn up. We was all scared. Some old folks were screaming and some was praying. We all made so much noise. The white folks came out to see what was happening. They looked up and then they got scared too. But then the white folks started calling all the slaves together, and for no reason they started telling some of the slaves who their mothers and fathers was. and who they've been sold to and where. The old folks were so glad to hear where their people went. They made sure we all knew what happened. You see, they thought it was Judgment Day. Exactly, man. So that lets you know that they didn't allow the slaves to read, because if the slaves knew what was happening, they would have probably got scared and thought it was Judgment Day too. But because these Edomites who had our book was reading the Bible, they interpreted these stars falling to be the second coming of Yahushua, man. You know what I'm saying? But the slaves, they didn't know what was going on. They just knew that the white slave owners was acting funny because they was admitting their crimes and their sins and telling the slaves where their mothers and where their children, where all of their family were sold to and what plantations and where they was at. You know what I'm saying? So they was feeling guilty. So because they thought that the second coming of the Lord was coming, they was trying to do right, at the last minute and try to confess all of the crimes that they had did. You know what I'm saying? But these stars that it's talking about in these articles is not talking about the stars that's going to happen, before the Lord actually returns. The stars that's going to fall before the Lord actually returns, that's talking about missiles. It's talking about nuclear bombs. This is 2 Esdras 15 and 40, and it says, "The great and mighty clouds shall be puffed up full of wrath, and the star that they may make all the earth afraid." And that's talking about a nuclear missile, that they may make all the earth afraid, because these nuclear missiles, these are what's frightening to all the people on the earth. You know what I'm saying? This is what they don't want to happen, is these nuclear missiles to be used. So this star that's talking about are nuclear bombs. And it says, "And them that dwell therein, and they shall pour out over every high and eminent place a horrible star." So that horrible star is talking about nuclear bombs, man. So all of these countries, all of these different lands are going to shoot nuclear bombs off. And a lot of them, most of them are going to land over here in Great Babylon, which these people call America, the United States. Most of these nuclear bombs are going to land over here, and it's going to turn this place to straight ashes. This place is going to get turned to a straight desert, and nobody ever going to dwell or live in this land again, you know what I'm saying? Because it's going to be set as a monument. It's going to be used as a way to remind people of not how to be. You know what I'm saying? Of not how to be. You know what I'm saying? So this place is just going to be a straight desert, and nothing but animals is going to live here. So now we know that what these stars that the scriptures is actually talking about. But, during those slavery times, the white slave owners, they thought it was talking about just regular stars. So they was so afraid that the Lord was going to return and judge them that they started confessing to the slaves all the sins and all the things they was doing. They was trying to make it right with the slaves so that they won't get judged. You know what I'm saying? But hey, you Edomites, y'all gonna get judged anyway. Y'all gonna get judged anyway. And y'all judgment gonna be more harsh than y'all ever thought it was gonna be. You know what I'm saying? Y'all gonna have a very harsh judgment, Because after that night, what y'all do, y'all still went back to the same shit. Still started whipping, beating, castrating slaves, still feeding babies to alligators, still doing all kind of wicked shit, Because y'all found out, okay, it ain't the judgment, it ain't Judgment Day. So y'all, after that, y'all still went back and started doing the same shit. So because of that, y'all gonna get a very harsh judgment, But this judgment of these stars falling, this is going to take place after the Great Tribulation. Right after the Great Tribulation, you're going to see nuclear missiles in the air, and they're going to be in the air, and they're going to be flying towards their destination. And that's when the Lord is going to appear to deliver his elect. He's going to beam his elect up in what these people call UFOs, out of America as well as other places around the earth. You know what I'm saying? And the elect, they're going to get beamed up, and they're going to be able to look down and watch this place being consumed by fire, and watch the 2/3 as well as these other nations that are still in this land at that time. They're going to get consumed by fire too. So that's what these stars is talking about, But hopefully that was an edifying lesson, man. And I'm just going ahead and give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, by Hashem Rakakadash, double honor to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone. And peace and blessings to the brothers out there doing this work in sincerity and truth throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom.